Hello, good evening, and welcome to Invictus Racing League. This is Monday nights, which means it's the No Assist Championship. We're here for round 9 at the circuit, Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City, Mexico, for the championship round here. Round 9, Invictus Racing League No Assist Championship. And I am joined once again by my co-commentator, Sab. Good evening, Sab.
Good evening. We're here in Mexico, aren't we? Should be a great race tonight. We've got a lot more drivers here tonight, and we've got the three running guys for the title in tonight. Speed Queen, Scott Boy Better Know, and Sam is back. So hopefully we'll have a great race this evening.
Absolutely, as you say, the three main title protagonists are in the lobby tonight. You've got Speed Queen, you've got Scott Boy Better Know Speed, and you've got Sammy the Pizzo. All three of them within 5 points of each other, with 4 races on the calendar left to go. We've got Mexico, we've got Spa, Abu Dhabi, and finally we end up in Monza in Italy. So 4 more races to go, plenty of action to be had on track, and tonight is going to be no different. We're expecting an absolute classic here, and you can see we've got plenty of new drivers that have decided to join the league for the end of the season, looking to push themselves towards the No Assist Championship challenge for next season. So any surprises in store for tonight, Sab, or are you expecting the main guys to romp away with it?
I would have to say I'm expecting the main guys to romp away with it. You've got Scopefielder in there who is pretty consistent and pretty fast. He's missed a few races. He's a little bit further down than he'd probably liked in the championship, but he no doubt will try and find himself in there. I've raced against Jos as well. He's a pretty fast guy as well, so we could have a 5-6 way battle at front. But like you say, I think the main three we've just recently spoke about, they'll be the guys who I think we'll be looking at for pole position.
Yeah, it does seem to be that way, but you never know. There can always be surprises thrown up, and especially if someone decides to go for a late move onto the Hypersoft tyres, because of course tonight we'll be running the pink Hypersoft tyres, the purple Ultra Soft tyres, and the red Super Soft tyres. So strategy can be all over the place here. You can go for that one-stop strategy, an Ultra Soft to a Super Soft, or vice versa, or equally you can make the two-stop work and decide to go on to some Ultras and Hypers. So it's going to be a really interesting one tonight. So yeah, make sure you keep in touch with us and keep in with the stream as we go on throughout the evening. And of course, qualifying has now begun. 18 minutes of it. We're down to 17 minutes 20. No one yet to come out to the track. Beautiful clear blue skies above the circuit here this evening. So absolutely perfect conditions for the guys as they head out on track. And in fact, it's going to be the Force India that's going to be heading out first. And I believe that's XD Archie, one of the new rookie drivers in this evening. So XD Archie, the first one out to taste a bit of no assist action this evening.
Yeah, he's headed out on the super soft tyres, so maybe going out just to get a feel of the track and check his setup to see it's all running correctly. Maybe he's coming straight back in on this lap, or he's just going to go for a banker lap straight away. Be interested to see how some of the new guys do tonight against the more experienced guys of this league. Can they get themselves in and amongst it during this qualifying and show the stream and show the viewers what they're all about this evening, because this is a good place to start. At the end of the season, they'll want to just not get in anybody's way, but make a point that they're here and they can fight for pole position and possibly podium or race victories.
Yeah, as you say, today could be a time that the drivers really stamp their authority or try and set a statement of intent on the championship. And what a better way to do it than go and set a decent lap around the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez and really introduce yourself to the stage of the No Assist Championship. And the track itself, distance to turn 1, as Archie comes around the final corner, 800 metres, just under 0.5 of a mile. It's the longest run down to turn 1 of the entire F1 calendar, so you've got to really slam on the brakes here down into turn 1. In fact, he locks the front right up there ever so slightly. Longest straight, it is that long, that back straight, or the main straight, sorry, 1.3 kilometres, and it's on the approach to turn 1. Top speed will be doing around 345 kilometres an hour, 214 miles an hour. Full throttle, 47% of the lap, not the most, of course. We see plenty higher places such as Monza, where we'll be going for round 12 at 75%. ERS demands it's very high around here. Your battery usage will be pretty extensive, so you've got to really watch out for how much you're using it and where you're using it, because energy recovery around here is very, very tricky indeed. And drivers will be doing 44 gear changes per lap. That's over a 50% distance, 3,124. So plenty of work for these guys to be doing tonight, Sam.
Yeah, it's a very tricky circuit, this, because you've got to get your setup nailed on. That second sector is really tricky, and you're going to need plenty of downforce, but then you get yourself too much downforce, you're compromised around this really, really long straight. Archie must have got an invalid lap there. He's on another run now, so at the minute I've just been looking, and as Jos has set the first time of the lap so far, 1 minute 15 on the super softs. I was just about to say the only guy out there at the minute who's running the hypers is M. Doran, and everybody else is just thinking they do not want to touch those hypers. So can M. Doran put a real statement down with a hypersoft qualifying time?
Yeah, as Joel goes up into pole position in the Mercedes, currently a 115 flat on the ultra soft tyres, as M. Doran's coming around the final corner now, around the Mansell, the bend, as it was named after the famous drive in 1992, and he does a 119, so it's a slow lap for the Toro Rosso driver coming into the No Assist Championship late in the season, so a bit of work for him to do if he's going to set a time. But the problem with these hypersofts is that they go off so quickly that you really need to take advantage of them on that first lap, don't you?
Oh yes, 100%. We've now got Scopefield, he's also out on the hypers, so just two guys at the minute trying the hypersofts. You've really got to nail that lap. If you get it wrong, or if you invalidate, for me there's no point carrying on and trying to set a second lap time, because you're just taking too much life out of these hypers. They will not last long, pushing them as hard as you need to push them in qualifying. So you need to get qualifying, your fast lap, your hot lap, bang on straight away on these hypersofts, which Scopefield will be hoping he can do and really set a statement on these hypers.
As you see, XD Archie there doing his second lap round. He does a 115.6, goes onto the second row of the grid, knocks down, or stays on the second row, sorry, as Scott goes alongside his teammate, as Merck currently lock out the front row. He does a 14.6, great lap there on the ultra soft tyres for Scott, as M. Doran bails out of that one very late indeed. But Jos is retired from the session, possibly, or I think it may have retired on circuit. So, but Jos currently sitting in third position at the moment. He'll be starting unless he drops outside of the top 10 on the super soft tyres. So it's going to be the hardest compound for the Dutchman going into the race. And look at the championship leader, Sammy Lopito, currently only in 6th position. He's decided to run on the wheel tonight after doing the first half of the season on the pad. So it's a bit of a run in the unknown for the Williams driver. So is that possibly going to affect his progress throughout the race up against the likes of Scott, who's already acclimatised to being on the wheel?
It's a brave call, especially first half of the season. Sam was absolutely immense. He was taking the league by storm, so he obviously must be confident to jump on the wheel and try and maintain his lead at the top of the championship. It'd be interesting to see how he gets on tonight on the wheel. Hope for his sake it all works out for him, because it is a kind of a brave call here, because if it doesn't go wrong tonight, then it could be handing Scott and Speed Queen a big advantage. Yeah,
definitely. It'll definitely play into their hands if Sam can't really lock in that same pace on the wheel that he can on the pad, as Scope goes pole, a 14 flat, superb time there for the Red Bull driver, absolutely blitzing that pole position lap of Scott by 0.6 of a second. So a hypersoft tyre, of course, has the benefit over the harder ultra soft tyres, but a great lap there for the Red Bull. So look to possibly, I don't know, do the two Mercedes sitting pretty in second and third at the moment? Do they think, well, we're not that far off of Scopefield, or do we stick on this ultra soft tyre, or do you reckon we'll see them come out on those pink tyres later in the session?
It's a tricky call, isn't it? at the minute, Ultrasofts the second and third. It's a good sitting on them because Schofielder's not going to be able to run as long as the Merc guys starting the race on those hypersoft tyres. So at the current minute, they are in a good position. It's just for me, it depends on what the guys below start doing. If the guys below starts setting times on hypersoft tyres, then they obviously might have to change. But at the current minute, the both Merc guys are sitting really comfortably.
Yeah, in second and third at the moment. Scott, the current second place man in the championship, on 79 points, sitting 1 point behind Sam the Pitto, who's currently sitting in 8th position at the moment, whilst Speed Queen, she sits just off of the top 2 at the moment after coming in second place last week. She's on 76, so 4 points off the lead, 3 points off of Scott. But Speed Queen is actually she's really on a run of form. I say a run of form, it can't even be called a run of form. She's yet to finish outside of the top 4 the entire season, so really a testament to just how consistent she is.
Yeah, it's just how she's just so good, isn't she? She performs week in, week out. She knows how to get the points in. Even if she starts a bit further down in qualifying where she doesn't want to be, she'll just work her way through. Sometimes you don't even notice. She just works her way through and glides her way through the pack, and 9 times out of 10 you could bet your house that she's going to be at least a podium. And I would not put it past her today to do exactly the same. As I just wanted to look, both the Mercedes guys have come out on hypersoft tyres, so that maybe they feel threatened by Scope's lap time or a 14 flat, so it'd be interesting to see how these guys do on the hypers.
Yeah, so they're definitely out there vying for pole position tonight. They want to lock out the front row, something we haven't seen from the Mert drivers in a long time. So Scott and Joel both going for pole position this evening. We're on board with Sammy the Pitto at the moment. Looked like he backed out of the lap earlier on. He almost glided around for turn 1 and turn 2 at a 45-degree angle, so really struggling to get that car turned into turn 1. In fact, he's gone wide there on the entry to the stadium section at turn 12, so looks like Sam's going to bail out this lap as well on the ultra-soft tyres, which is a real shame for him because he's currently only sitting down in 9th position, 1 place ahead of Never Miss, who of course is new to No Assist. He's been part of the league for the last few races, but still very early on in his No Assist career, so Never Miss is going to have to get used to a very tricky circuit, especially for these guys out there struggling with those No Assists on.
Yes, definitely. And while he was talking there, M. Doran has finally set his lap time on his hypersoft. He must have come in and got a fresh set. He's now up to 4th, just behind Joel and Scott, who are about to set, you would think, quicker lap times. I'm currently on board with Scott, and he's absolutely nailing this lap so far. He's just coming round to the stadium section now, which is one of my favourite sections of the F1 calendar. Really, it's really unique and cool how the guys can drive through a huge crowd of fans here as he's coming round to turn 17 now. His foot's planted, he's heading for that finish line. Can he get near Scope? Yes, he can. 1:13.9. He is in provisional pole position.
Takes it by just over 1/10 of a second at the moment. What can his teammate do? Joel's out there at the moment, heading or what looks towards the second sector at the moment. Yeah, so he's just coming down into sector 2 at turn 7 into turn 8, and yeah, as you were saying, the stadium section in sector 3, one of superb looking areas on the F1 calendar, of course, repurposing the old baseball stadium in Mexico City, and what a perfect way to do it. Place yourself a nice bit of tarmac in the middle where you can hold events such as Formula 1, Formula E and the Race of Champions. So yeah, really, really pleasant sight to see, especially towards the end of the race when you see the confetti being thrown up in the air and the adoring Mexican fans.
Yeah, I like I say, it's one of my favourite sections on the. Oh, as Joel pretty much drifted the final corner and bailed out of that, and he's back into the pits. He clearly wasn't happy with that run, and it was more like Fast and Furious at the end there for Joel. He was not happy, and he didn't set a time on the hypers. Maybe he'll be coming back out in a fresh set. We'll soon see. As Scopefielder, wow.
Great time there from Scopefield as the Swedish driver goes provisional pole, a 1:13.7 2.8. Great lap there, 0.2 of a second faster than Scott, and with Scott in the pit lane, he's going to have seen that and think, oh god, I was pushing hard last time. As we've got the McLaren of Phil MCFC, the one lap specialist, who was really pushing it there on the exit of turn 11, got out onto the runoff area, onto the marbles that would have been dropped off, and almost lost the car, but superbly done holding on to it. It's going to keep him in qualifying, but Phil, he's one of those drivers that he really does drive on the edge of grip, and if he's not going absolutely full throttle, then you don't really see him out there at all. It's either everything or nothing with him, but he's currently out of the top 10 at the moment. He's yet to set a competitive time, so Phil's got a lot of work to do if he's going to get himself up towards the top 2 or top 3 positions.
Yeah, last time I seen Phil, I think it was China, and he was absolutely flying that day, and unfortunately for him, just the penalties let him down, and the speed in the pit lane. He could have probably won that race that day. He's like you say, he's one of these guys, he's all or nothing, and at the minute, unfortunately for him, it's a bit of nothing. He cannot seem to get a lap time set down. He looks like he's having another go. He's locking up the tyres yet again. He's heading it through the second sector now. Can he at least put himself up within at least 5th or 6th place to give him a chance to fight nearer the front? He does not really want to be starting down in 12th place at the minute. Yeah,
coming up to the end of sector 2 now, so we'll see if he's up by 1.1 second there, so we'll see. That's obviously on his best time and not the best time of the evening, because that would be an absolutely remarkable time, but it looks like he's slowed right down. Is he going to pull into the pit box? He is, so it's a bailout there for Phil with 3 minutes 40 seconds. He's got it was going to be hard push to get back out in time to get a time set, but what we did miss is White Fountains put himself on the front row of the grid, only half a tenth off of Schofield. A cracking lap there from White Fountain in his first race in the No Assist Championship, currently on the front row.
Yes, that's apologies to White Fountain there. We was watching other people on track, and I was just keeping an eye on other people, and we totally missed his lap. That was absolutely fantastic lap for him in the Force India. Like I say, hardly anything in between him and Scope. He's really put himself amongst the front runners there. That will not be good news for Scott. Boy better know he will not want White Fountain and Scope ahead of him. He's going to want to get that pole position and keep a gap between him and Speaker and Sam.
And one of the things I am just keeping an eye on is the I would say is Phil retires in the pit lane, I believe. Oh, actually no, it's sector 1 he's lost it in. So Phil retiring on track, so that McLaren is going to start from the back of the grid in 12th position. So not a great start. What is his teammate Jos in 6th at the moment? Jos obviously retired, making it a bit of a disappointing session for McLaren, but he's still in 6th position on the super soft tyres. So the likes of Speed Queen, XD Archie, Sam, as I say that, Archie goes 4th, but they yet to get past him, and he's on the harder tyres. So Jos currently giving himself a chance of that slightly differing strategy come race time.
Yeah, the only disadvantage, I think, Jos will be starting on the super soft tyres. He'll not be able to get them up to temperature as quickly as the faster running tyres. So for him, he would need a really good start, and to hopefully keep the guys behind him to give a chance later on in the race, to give his tyres a chance to do their thing, to last longer than the hyper softs ahead of him, which if he can stay within touching distance of the hyper softs ahead of him, he's got a real good chance of at least a podium place tonight with starting on the super softs, because then he could jump onto the ultras towards the end of the race and be one of the fastest guys out there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the choice and chance is there for Jos, as if he manages to stick it out there and manages to keep the grip, as we've got a yellow in sector 2. I think drivers out there pushing very hard, running wide as Lamaro goes up into 9th position. 1:15.4, manages to get himself past Nevermiss, and is out on his outlap and heading down towards turn 1 now, and with just over 1 minute left to go, looks like the only ones that we're going to not have on track are going to be Mdora and Joel and Nevermiss, who are all in the pit lane, and you won't have time to get out and set yourself an outlap for the fastest lap. So I believe we've got everyone out on track now as Nevermiss retires from the session. He's down in 11th position at the moment, so outside of the top 10 will be Phil and Nevermiss. They'll have tyre choice come the race, as Scott backs out of that lap there But with 36 seconds, you can see these guys all slowing down. They're letting the fastest Speed Queen go past. She's on a flying lap at the moment on the ultra soft tyres. She's currently sitting in 8th position. Speed Queen, one of those ones that she never seems to lock it in qualifying, but like we said earlier, she just seems to move past people effortlessly when it comes to the race.
Definitely. And I can't be the one to sit here and pick faults with Speed Queen. She's much better race driver than I'll ever be, but if she did have any slights, you would say it can be a qualifying. She could probably prove me wrong in a second and jump up 3 places, but if she could nail the qualifying a bit more, she would probably run away with every single race she competes in. But because of her racecraft and her ability to overtake people with ease at times, she just makes it look so easy as she's crossed the line up into just 7th place for Speed Queen.
As Scott pulls out of that lap, so he's currently sitting on the second row of the grid. Looks like that's going to be where he finishes, unless we see Archie go ahead of him. So he's still on the second row, but Archie and Scott swap positions there. What that does mean is we've got 2 rookie drivers in the top 3 positions, and Schofield, in fact White Fountain with a absolutely storming lap to finish the session, a 1:13.5. Can Schofield go any quicker? He does. It's a 1:13.3. So as we think White Fountain ties up pole position, Schofielder puts in a 1:13.3. Absolutely mega lap there from the Red Bull.
Yeah, Schofield, like I said, it's a shame he's missed a few races in the season, because he would have been well up there in the fight for the title. Schofield is a very, very quick guy. I've raced against him many, many times, and even in qualifying and race, he will push, and once again, he has proved how quick he is. Pole position, very impressive pole position, but like you say, 2 rookies in the top 3, big round of applause to those guys this evening against the more experienced guys, and both of them the Force India showing that pink rules this evening in qualifying so far.
Absolutely. White Fountain and Archie doing a superb job, but Schofielder, he's the one back here in the No Assist Championship. He puts himself on pole position, so Scott has got a lot of work to do if he's going to make it another race win. Of course, he is the owner of the last 2 victories in Australia and in China, so Scott's definitely the man in form at the moment, but in 4th position he's going to have to make himself get past a couple of drivers ahead, and with the top 5 on the Hypersoft tyre, top 6 on the Hypersoft tyres, sorry, possibly locking themselves into a 2-stop strategy. Well, I say possibly, definitely locking themselves into a 2-stop strategy. You'd have to really have to look after those tyres if you're going to get a 1-stop out of the Hypersofts. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting race indeed. And good evening to everyone watching the stream tonight. We're glad to have you along, and feel free to drop a message into the comments. Let us know what you're thinking. Is anyone impressing you? Would you like to see anything, hear about anything? Let us know. More than happy to get engaged and hearing what your guys' thoughts are. As you see, there is your roundup for qualifying. Pole position goes to Schofielder in the Red Bull, 1:13.3. White Fountain on his debut in 2nd, and Archie in 3rd, equally on his debut as the Force Indias come in 2nd and 3rd. Scott, who's alongside Joel, his teammate, in the Mercedes, whilst M. Doran goes in 6th. Speed Queen comes in 7th with Yoss in 8th. Lamaro is in 9th with Sammy the Pitto, championship leader, down in 10th position on the hardest super soft tyres. Never miss, and Phil will start outside the top 10, and superb result there from Scopefielder, and equally for Archie and White Fountain, who will be, I'm sure, the 2 Force Indians will be absolutely delighted with 2nd and 3rd. And it's really, as we see, it looks like a lovely clear sky above the racetrack once again. So hopefully these drivers won't have to contend with any race. But yeah, what's the most impressive thing we just saw from qualifying there?
You'd have to say the 2 rookies. They came in and did exactly what I would hope they would do, and make themselves stand out and get us talking about them. They pulled out two great laps. White Fountain, we thought initially he'd nicked the pole position, and this for Scott, boy better know, he would not have wanted to have seen two rookies ahead of him. At the start of the race, he would have wanted to get as far up that grid as possible, maybe on the front row with Scope, and then try and run away and score maximum points ahead of Speed Queen, especially with Sam as far down as he is. So, yes, it's going to be interesting to see at the start of the race how these two rookies get on.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, guys, thank you very much. We are Twitch affiliated now, so we've got to level where we can take on donations and subscriptions from you all. So I'm sure Sab and I are very appreciative of that fact, which means you can, of course, donate to us on the subscription button, where you can get yourself subscribed for a nominal fee each month, whether it's a bronze tier, silver tier or gold tier. Equally, if you've got Amazon Prime, you can use a 1 month free subscription to the league. You don't pay a penny, but we get the monetary value of that subscription. Of course, everything goes back into making Invictus bigger and better for F1 2019, which is very, very quickly approaching us. And of course, if you're not already involved in the league, go to invictusracingleague.com, where you can go to the sign up page and get yourself on the grid and on in the Invictus F1 community for F1 2019. And yeah, go to invictusracingleague.com. Equally, check out our socials at InvictusRL on Twitter and Instagram, Invictus Racing Leagues on Facebook. So make sure you check out and talk to any of the guys. If you've got any questions, we're more than happy to have you on board for the new game and a new season. And yeah, I'm sure you're looking forward to it.
Yes, I am really looking forward to F1 2019, just simply because, unfortunately, again, we've had a few issues connection-wise and bugs and what have you in this game, and I just hope we can get those ironed out and have a more stable and enjoyable experience online, because they seem to get the career mode, the offline career mode, all right every year. It's just a few issues, isn't it, every year that we seem to be struggling with and connection-wise. So hopefully they can get that sorted and we can have stronger and more exciting races in this league and all our other leagues across the week. So yeah, really looking forward to F1 2019.
Yeah, and as you were saying, it's not just Monday night that we race on here in Invictus. Tuesday nights are Realistic Performance 1 and 2. Wednesday nights are Equal Performance F1, F2 and F3. Some of the most competitive and fun esports on Formula 1 you'll find anywhere on PlayStation 4. So make sure you check out the socials where you can get all of the Twitch stream channels, and equally make sure you follow us on Twitter, equally at GT2_driving for me, and at Alan Savatino for Sab, and you'll get us. And all of the inner thoughts of what we think about how the Invictus Racing League has gone over that season. And what we are now is we're going to the formation lap as Scopefielder leads us away for that warm-up lap, getting as much heat into the tyres as possible. So hyper soft tyres, you don't want to put too much load into them too quickly, because of course they've got a real threat of overheating.
Definitely, you've got to really look after these hyper soft tyres even at the start of the race, because if you try and push too early, you will just use them all up instantly, and then suddenly you are falling backwards and backwards and backwards. And the likes of Speaker, who's starting on the ultra soft tyre, she, if she plays the cards right, could start to just pick off these hyper soft guys ahead and soon find herself in a very strong position. So it's a real balancing game early on these hyper soft tyres.
Yeah, what we've got here is going to be very interesting down into turn one. Like I was saying, it's 800 metre stretch, just under half a mile, and of course on a track that really requires perfect downforce and ability to turn through these sweeping corners, as the cars are being led through right now by Scopefielder. Is front wing damage here, especially on lap 1, could really be a race ender.
Oh, definitely, yes. You really, sometimes you can get away with front wing damage in certain circuits. Here, I don't think you can, especially like we say through second and third sectors where it's really twisty and quick. And if you get front wing damage here, you are going to be really compromised. So you've got to. There's so many things you've got to keep an eye on and make sure you get absolutely nailed on. But he's going to be keeping an eye on those two rookie drivers behind, because they are going to be eager to try and impress and try and show what they can do. So Scope will just want to keep those paint Force India's behind him for as long as he can, and hopefully for his sake push away and let them get on with their own business, because these hopefully we'll get a good race with the rookies showing what they can do, and then Scott maybe getting in on the action too.
Absolutely, as Phil, the final driver on the grid, rolls into position in P12, but we've got 5 lights that are about to go out, and we're about to go underway here at the Mexican Grand Prix of the Gnosis Championship. They're off and underway here. It's a great start there for the Mercedes of Boy Better Know, who's taken to the right-hand side. He's gone alongside the 2 Force Indias, and Schofield has gone right across to cover him off, and he saw Scott steaming up the inside, and Schofield's going to try and go 3 wide, but it's the 2 Force Indias, just like you said, have scampered off, and look at that both of them jump round the outside. Scope tried to cover off the Mercedes, but he completely took his eye off the Force Indias, and they've got away, and it's a great start from XD Archie. They're up into first position.
Fantastic, and Scope is now under massive pressure from Scott. He's just clobbered the curb there. Scott has now got ahead of him, and I think unfortunately for Scope he had too much eyes. There's a big slide there from oh, it's not Scott, it's Joel, apologies, it's Joel, not Scott, in 3rd place. And that's a fantastic start for him, but I think Schofield just had his eyes too much on the Mercedes and totally lost track of the 2 Force Indias, and they've just ran off ahead, and Scope now has, unfortunately, just fell further and further back, which is a terrible start for him.
Yeah, Schofield are down to 4th position. In fact, Joel is the one that's moved up into 3rd. So Scott and Scope both suffering at the start. Speed Queen, she's up into 6th position. She's moved up 1 position. It's been a poor start for Lamara. He's down to 12th, but great start. Look at these for these 2 Force Indias, and this is where the rookie teammates need to really work together. Of course, you're getting into a position where you're 1 and 2 in the race. Do they just work together and use each other to drag each other along in the sections such as we're on now on the run from turn 3 down to turn 4? Or is it a case of anything goes and White Fountain goes for the lead of the race up against Archie? This is where it can really like make or break the race for these guys.
What you definitely don't want is what Force India had in 2018, is a Ocon Perez incident where they were squabbling, and it cost them good points in many races in that, as you might have seen in the Netflix documentary. So these guys have got to be sensible here. There's a race win here for one of the 2 of them, or a race win for Force India. They have to be clever here, because if they take each other out, Joel behind or Scope will just take advantage and run off with the lead. So while ever they keep fighting each other, it's not good for them, because it's allowing the guys behind to catch up with them. They've got to be sensible and work out a strategy what's best for both of them. Yeah,
XD Archie looks to be the slightly slower driver. White Fountain really racy behind him at the moment. In fact, you can see the fastest times falling behind, so that means that these 2 at the front are holding each other up because they're not able to get the power down. But look at it, White Fountain's got a great run on the leading Force India down into turn 1. Is Archie going to give up the position? No, they're going to go side by side. They're still there. Archie's managed to hold on to the position, so really frustrating here for the Belgian White Fountain, as he can't get past his teammate, and surely he'll be thinking, look, I'm a little bit quicker at this point, just let me go ahead and I'll drag you along with me.
And right behind them two, we have got an epic battle. 2 Mercedes, 1 Red Bull. Scope is absolutely elbows out. He's got ahead of Joel, but Joel has also then lost out to Scott. So in the space of 2 corners, Joel has dropped 2 places. It's an absolutely mega battle between the 2 Mercs and the Red Bull at the minute. Scope now in 3rd will want to be hoping to push on ahead and try and track down and chase after White Fountain.
Yeah, and they've brought Speed Queen equally. M. Doran's doing very nicely indeed. He's in 7th. He's dropped down behind Speed Queen after starting in 6th position, but he's still staying onto the back. And equally, Yoss on those super soft tyres, currently still sitting in 8th position. Never miss up to 9th, 2 positions after starting on fresh tyres. But unfortunately, looks like Phil may have had an incident, because he's way down the order at the moment, 23 seconds behind Lamara at the moment. So Phil, once again, just not able to switch it on come race time.
No, it's another tough race, it looks like, for Phil, unfortunately for him. Hopefully, for his sake, that the safety car, something comes out now. That's his only chance, really, of scoring points there. I'm still watching the Mercedes battle for 3rd place. Scott is all over the back of as Phil puts in the fastest lap, as we were just talking about there. But Scott is putting real pressure on Scope, but Scope is getting closer and closer to those two Force Indians at the front, and suddenly we're going to end up with a four, potentially, if Joel can get close, a five-way battle for the lead here.
Yes, it's a penalty for White Fountain in second position already, so 3 seconds are on the post-race penalty clock for White Fountain, and it's one of those tracks here. It's very easy to run wide, get all four wheels outside of the white lines on either side of the track, so very easy to pick up penalties. So don't expect to be that to be the last one we see. But yeah, as you say, look at how much Schofield has reeled in the two Force Indias who have just been going at each other for the first 4 laps of the race, and Scope's going to get a really good tow off the back of White Fountain going down the main straight now. DRS will be activated, and Scopefielder has got a real possibility of getting past at least 1, if not 2. Can he get close enough? Or it's slightly negated due to the White Fountain having DRS on Archie ahead, but these 4 at the moment, they've broken away slightly from Joel, who's having his own battle with Speed Queen.
Yeah, Speed Queen really now starting to reel in the Hypersoft guys. She's putting pressure on Joel. She was briefly ahead of Joel. She's just locked up there and gone deep into that corner. But the Hypersofts might start to look like they're starting to fall away slightly, and Speed Queen will be smelling blood on Joel and hopefully for her sake picking him off and then looking at Scott next. But at the minute, it's a 4-way battle at the front. Have the Force Indians took too much out of their tyres early on, battling each other, because it's just brought 3rd and 4th place right up behind them now, and it's just going to increase the pressure on them for the lead.
Yeah, of course. The top 4 at the moment, in fact, I believe down to Speed Queen, top 5 are all on the hyper soft tyres, so these tyres won't last too much longer. They will go off much sooner than the guys out there on the ultra soft and the super soft tyres. So you've really got to fight over track position here. You can't get stuck behind people, and like you say, the Force India's possibly overheating those tyres ever so slightly, and then once these hypers start to go off, that second sector, as we see Scott's going to have a look to the inside as Schofielder decides against it. He put his nose in there, but Scope firmly shutting the door. But yeah, the top, once they start to go off, essentially it's like driving around on 4 blocks of ice, and you'll just find yourself pointing in the wrong direction. As look at the battle we've got here. Is Scott's going to try and go around the inside. It's going to turn to the inside. There's a little bit of contact between the two, but not too much. But Scott looks like he's got the inside there for turn 6, and he's got the move done. And equally, the Force India's still going at each other.
That was a fantastic battle. That was. They were banging tyres. There was nothing too aggressive. It was absolutely brilliant overtake from Scott there. Now he's going to try and do what potentially Scope couldn't do and get past that White Fountain Force India in second place. As just further down, Speed Queen now has overtaken Joel, and Joel has also now lost a place to Yoss. So maybe Joel has also took a lot of tyres out of his Hypersofts, and Speed Queen will be now setting her sights firmly on Schofield. She is 1.2 seconds behind Schofield in 5th place. Yeah,
it looked like Joel ran wide on the exit of turn 11 there, and that allowed Yoss to get up the inside. And here we go, the Mercedes on the first of the Force Indias down into turn 1. Who's the late breakers? Oh, they're still side by side. White Fountain really impressing this evening, as both him and Archie showing some superb defensive driving, managing to keep the form driver behind him in Boy Better Know, and equally Schofielder, who's a multi-time champion in Invictus and has been well on form in some of the other formula over the week. So these two at the front doing an absolutely exceptional job so far.
They definitely are. For rookies in this league, you've got massive pressure from Scott, Scope, and Speed Queen slowly reeling herself in as well. These, like you say, are multi-champions. These many race victories on their belt, and they are managing to hold them off at the moment. It's a great battle. As you can see, Speed Queen is getting ever so closer and closer. Oh, and there's a big lock up there from Scott. Has he lost? Oh, He's just about holding position against Scope, but has his tyres gone? Speed Queen is now, like I said, smelling blood, and she's going to be on the attack here as Scope has come into the pits.
Yeah, does Scope do that as a tactic? Does he think, you know what, Scott, I think your tyres are gone. I'm going to get an undercut on you. I'm going to keep you out there on worn tyres. That's possibly a tactical move there from Scopefielder, and thinking, I can see he's struggling. I might as well go out there and set an out lap on a pair of fresh boots and possibly get the jump on him when it comes to the undercut and the pit stops.
You've probably called that correct. Scopefielder could see his tyres had gone, and instead of trying to struggle and battle here for third place and potentially fall away from the Force Indias and let Speed Queen take advantage, let's get a set of new boots on the car and get out there and try, like say, the undercut. This is a big lap or two now for Scott. In my opinion, he's got to come in, because Speed Queen is massively putting the pressure on him now, and she'll be past him within the next lap or so. His tyres look like they have had it.
Superb little battle going on for 7th and 8th at the moment between Lamaro and Nevermiss, the two swapping positions in turn 4. Superb move around the outside for the Toro Rosso of Lamaro 83 around Nevermiss. Nevermiss almost got him back into the hairpin at turn 6, but Lamaro managing to get the move done on the Sauber, whilst ahead he picks up a 3-second time penalty, whilst it's the Force India of XD Archie that's the first one to pit, and it looked like White Fountain was going to go for the same thing. He slowed right down, but at the last minute Archie came in. That meant that White Fountain was really compromised. He's had to get back on the power, and then what that's going to happen is Speed Queen had a huge power advantage on the start of the straight, and she's got past him for the current lead of the race.
Yeah, this really could compromise White Fountain now. White Fountain could end up finding himself behind Boy Veterano Scott and potentially Scopefielder. It was a brave call from Force India. Archie got the nod, he came in first, and now he's just slowly fallen away, White Fountain, from Speed Queen, as Archie's just picked up a 3-second time penalty. So, like his fellow teammate, they've both now got 3-second time penalties, which could prove costly towards the end of the race.
Yeah, you can see White Fountain really struggling to get the corner, and hitting those apexes now. Those Hypersoft tyres look like they are done. We've done 9 laps of the race, and equally they've done the qualifying distance and an extra 3 laps on top, so 12 laps. I think these tyres are cooked for the Force India, and look to see him dive into the pit lane. I'd imagine Speed Queen will stay out. I believe she's on the ultra soft tyres, so does the Force India to come in? He looks like he is, so yeah, it's in he comes. We'll look to see how much that extra lap compromised him as M. Doran comes in from 3rd position. At the moment, Lamaro staying out there. He's on the purple ultra soft tyres at the moment. Scopefielder, look at the gap that he managed to build over Scott, and Scott really suffered on that extra lap out there, didn't he? He's dropped right down. Scopefielder's got a healthy gap between himself and the Mercedes driver now.
And what's also crucial for Scope as well, that early pit stop has put him ahead of both Force Indias. Archie came out behind Scope, and White Fountain is also now down behind Scott in 8th place. So this round of pit stop has worked out massively. It's a great tactic decision from Red Bull to get Scopefielder in that lap earlier, and it's now put him firmly ahead of those guys he was battling with.
Scott now trapped behind Phil MCFC. 0.2 of a second split the Mercedes and the McLaren at the moment, and he's going to need to clear Phil as soon as possible, because this is really going to hurt Scott's chances of not only the win but a possible podium, with the Force Indias seemingly doing very nicely indeed. And White Fountain, as we see, Scott's going to try and go around the outside into the stadium section. This is going to be an incredibly bold move. He gets it done before we even get to it, and into turn 12. The 40,000 fans in the stadium section see Scott come into it ahead of the McLaren, and equally look at the White Fountain. He's really closing on the pair already, and he's going to get an absolutely dream toe off the back of the McLaren and give him a really good shot of catching up to Scott and not letting that Mercedes get away.
Yeah, that was crucial for Scott, wasn't it? He needed to get that done early so he could keep tabs on his teammates. It's just 2 seconds behind him at the minute, and he'll want to close that gap. I was just looking further ahead. Scopefielder has now passed Limaro 83. He's 13 seconds behind Speed Queen. Can he bring that time down, and when Speed Queen comes in, he will effectively take the lead of this race. So Schofield are now on the hunt for Speed Queen.
Yeah, Speed Queen out there on the ultra soft tyres. She's 12 seconds ahead as Archie tries to go up the inside there into turn 7. That's slightly scared Lamaro there, and he ran a little bit wide, and Archie doesn't have to worry about pushing past any further because essentially Lamaro gave him the position there. Wasn't quite expecting to see the Force India try and force his way through at turn 7. But that mistake has moved Archie up into 3rd position on track at the moment, and effective 2nd position, with Speed Queen due to make her stop in probably around 3 or 4 laps time. Scopefielder does fastest lap, well, 1:16.958. White Fountain immediately beats it with a 16.9. And there it is. So we've got currently Scopefielder, XD Archie, then you've got Joel's managed to jump ahead of Scott, whilst White Fountain is now really hunting down the Mercedes for 5th position.
Yeah, White Fountain will not be too happy with his team. He was put a bit of a compromise there. They allowed Archie to go in first, and now he's got to do all the work to try and catch his teammate back up. He's on the hunt, like you say. Scott, can he get the overtake done and put these two Mercs under pressure, which in turn will help his teammate out by putting the two Mercedes under pressure, because they'll have to keep their eyes on their mirrors looking behind them rather than focusing on Archie ahead.
Absolutely, as Phil picks up a 2nd time penalty. That's another 3-second time penalty for him, and the time at the top is starting to come down. Schofield has taken 2 seconds out of Speed Queen that last lap as Sam the Pitto takes the 3-second time penalty. He's down in 10th position, so not enjoying the wheel in comparison to his pace on the pad at the moment, as we've got the two Mercedes line astern coming out of the final corner now, and with Scott behind his teammate, does Joel do the honours and let Scott pass pretty easily? It looks like he is. He's not going to fight it at all, so Joel playing the team game there and letting Scott pass down towards turn 1 very early on, and he's probably not going to come back at him, and if anything he might have to play rear gunner now, because White Fountain's going to be all over the back of him.
Yeah, you would expect Joel to do his teammate a favour there and try and keep that Force, I know for him, say the Force India behind him for as long as possible, to allow Scott to focus and put pressure on Archie for 2nd place. Schofield now in the lead after Speed Queen went into the pit. She's down in 8th position, fighting with M. Doran side by side, in fact, as they bang wheels. Wow. M. Doran is not giving up. Speed Queen on the super soft tyres. M. Doran and Speed Queen still side by side through the 2nd section. M. Doran just about keeps his Toro Rosso ahead.
Yeah, it's great defensive play from M. Doran there as he keeps, as the McLaren of Phil almost losing control ahead. We've got a yellow in sector 2 at the moment. Is it Yoss? It is Yoss that's lost it in the sweeping corners, so both McLarens losing it at almost exactly the same point on track, and Phil just about holding on to it. But Speed Queen, she's managed to get back ahead of M. Doran after the two, or imagine M. Doran was slightly spooked there by the McLaren, but we've got a yellow. Is that possibly Yoss once again? Or of course, as soon as you spin here the tyres, or as we've got another 3-second time penalty as Yoss retires from the race down in 12th position. As M. Doran's going to really struggle to get that car slowed down. Does he pick up any damage there? Looked like there was a brief bit of contact between the Toro Rosso and the Ferrari, but not a massive amount. We've got Yoss has left the session. Does that bring out, we've seen this before, does it bring out a VSC or a safety car? If that does, it might work in the benefit of Phil MCFC, who could possibly come in and put a set of super softs on and go to the end of the race. But down in 8th position, it's Speed Queen that's got the work to do. She's got quite a distance to make up if she's going to catch up to the guys ahead. So Speed Queen, she's on the super soft tyre. She's going to try and run to the end, but Sab, it's the one stop against the 2 stop. What's going to be the more effective one?
It's tough, isn't it? Because the ultra soft runners are definitely going to have to come in again. Otherwise, they're going to have to really be very gentle with these tyres, and they'll be on fire pretty much. So Speed Queen, if she plays this sensible and runs these tyres, then I would favour a one-stop personally, but the two-stop could potentially be fast at the end of the race. It's going to be very close here. Can Speed Queen make this gap up over Jolt initially, the 7.7 seconds she's behind at the minute, and really start to put the pressure on the Ultrasoft guys? What I would like to point out is, I think, unfortunately for Sam, the championship leader, the gamble with the steering wheel tonight has unfortunately not paid off for him. He is in 8th, he will be scoring points, but it's not where he wanted to be, especially after the first half of the season he's had.
Yeah, and what we didn't manage to catch on camera was White Fountain has gone ahead of the second Mercedes, Joel V520, so White Fountain now back up into 4th position and on a lap younger tyre than Scott at the moment, so he's got a slight advantage, whilst Joel of course came in much earlier than the others, and you see the remnants of a front wing there on the entrance to the stadium as Never Miss picks up a 3-second time penalty. So yeah, that may have been what lost Jos, how Jos ended up retiring from the race. There was a lot of debris and carbon fibre there on the exit of turn 12. So possibly a sad ending to the return to the No Assist Championship for Jos, who's definitely a quick driver. We've seen it in Realistic Performance 2 and in F1 this season.
Yeah, it's been a tough day, hasn't it, for McLaren? They've really struggled around here today, and it's unfortunate for Jos. Hopefully he's not too down in the dumps about it, and he can pick himself up for his remaining races this week. In a minute we've got Scott, who's half a second behind Archie in second place. I'm sure I've seen Archie pick up another 3-second time penalty a couple of laps ago. So Scott, if he's aware of it, if his Mercedes crew are telling him, he'll be aware that Archie has got some penalties to serve. So can he put some more pressure on Archie and try and reclaim second place, and then look to track down Schofield? At the minute he's just under the second mark, so he will have DRS coming down the long straight in a second.
Yeah, Scopefielder out in the lead of the race at the moment. He's got the 3.5 second gap ahead of there's a 3-second time for Scott there, so a mistake. That's, I believe Archie's got 6 and Scott's got 3, so yeah, it's not great for Scott, because I don't believe I've seen one flash up for Scopefielder, and I think he's probably, although he sees the pink Force India in front of him, he's probably still thinking that Schofield is his main rival and main challenger, but I don't think he can take his eyes off of the Force India sandwich that he's currently sitting in the middle, because these two have looked very racy all evening.
They really have. They've not really put a foot wrong. Yes, they've picked up a couple of penalties, but other than that, they haven't really put a foot wrong. They've really shown what they're capable of and shown their speed tonight. Scott will not be happy that these Force Indians have come in tonight and basically upset him in a way of his chance of maximising the most points he can get. At the minute he will be scoring more points than Speed Queen and Sam, so that is perfect for him, but he'll be wanting to get as much points as possible and really take control of this championship tonight. So the minute Archie is like a roadblock for him at the minute, he'll be getting frustrated stuck behind that pink Force India, but he just wants to remain calm, get the DRS in, and then his time will come and hopefully get second place for him and Mercedes.
Yeah, superb launch out the final corner there for Scott, and he's going to be tucked in behind Archie, heading down the main straight now. The DRS opens now, that rear flap in the rear wing, giving yourself a whole extra boost of speed, of extra revs all the way down. You can hear the engine notes go up as you're sitting on board with him, as we heard in Baku this week, just how powerful that DRS is down a long straight. And there you go, up into second position. Scott gets the move done, and this is where the two Force Indias need to work together now. Do they just take a little bit of time, just save up some battery, look off those tyres a little bit, and look to push hard on the second stint? As Never Miss retires from the session down. Really unfortunate for Never Miss there. He was involved in an absolutely fantastic battle with Lamaro. The two had been swapping positions, and yeah, really unfortunate for Never Miss as he drops out of the race on lap 18 of 36.
It's been tough for Never Miss. He's a solid driver, and it's just not quite happened for him recently. Hopefully he can recover and have a better race next time. That's unfortunate for him this evening. Going back to what you were saying, you would like to think the Force Indians remain calm. They're in third and fourth position. Speed Queen is 8.8 seconds behind them a minute, so they've got a reasonable gap to the Ferrari behind. If they can just take the time and don't take too much out of those tyres, stay within touching distance of Scott, they could still grab a race victory here later on in the race.
Yes, look at that gap. It's slowly starting to come down now. Scott's now taken 8/10 of a second out of Scopefielder. So although he's got that 3-second penalty to come to him later in the race, he's then slowly starting to knock this gap down to the Red Bull ahead. So we're definitely in store for a little bit of a fight between the two of them. And Speed Queen, she's not quite made up any time on the guys ahead at the moment. She's currently she's well within the pit window of the guys ahead, so they will fall behind her, and she's just going to have to really look after those tyres in this final half of the race if she's going to make this one stop work, because these guys that are going to be moving on to what I imagine is a second set of ultra soft tyres going to be really pacey come the latter stages of the race.
Yeah, I agree. It's close at the minute to call, isn't it? I'd like to say Scope's got it, but at the minute Scott is reeling Scope in. It was 2.5 seconds from first to second. Oh, that was a weird line from Archie there. It looked like he was coming into the pit lane and kind of cut the corner slightly and carried straight on. That was really weird. I thought Archie was coming into the pits, but as I was saying, Scott is down to 1.1 seconds now on Scope, so he's slowly reeling that Red Bull in, and can he put some real pressure on the Red Bull Scope now as Archie picks up another 3-second time penalty, which is not good for him and his Force India team.
No, of course not, and that's possibly going to demote him off of the podium at the moment, because White Fountain, I believe, only got one penalty to his name, and Speed Queen, she's going to be within range if he's going to be picking up penalties as Lamaro comes in for a second stop of the race. He's down in 10th, as we've got the two Force Indias, like we saw earlier in the race, look like they're about to re-engage in what was a very fun battle between the teammates, and of course two teammates that haven't raced with each other before. It's always going to be interesting to see the team dynamic there, both trying to fight over the number 1 and 2 positions, and this is of course the first race. This is where they have to put down that marker and find out who's the one that deserves it.
Yeah, definitely. For me, at the minute, with the amount of penalties that Archie's picked up, if I was Force India, I'd be telling Archie, let White Fountain go. He is 0.7 second behind Archie now. He'll have DRS. Let White Fountain go, and let's see if he can close the gap on Scott. Scott is 0.3 of a second now. He's flying up behind Scopefield. He can't make the DRS work quite there, but now the real pressure is on for first place.
Yeah, sitting on board with the Mercedes driver here, coming down the second DRS straight towards turn 4. He's going to peel to the inside. Is he going to look to a lunge down the inside? No, he's not. Scopefielder just sees him coming. He's covered off the apex on both on the second turn down into turn 5, but Scott, he's now all over the gearbox of the Red Bull. In fact, Scopefielder goes wide, and that's going to give Scott a much better run heading down towards turn 7 now. This isn't an overtaking position here. You have to just patiently sit behind the driver in front and hope to not get caught in the dirty air. And in fact, Scott does ever so slightly there. You can see just how much he struggles to keep in touch with Scopefielder through the sweeping corners from 7 to 11. And yeah, he was running wide and not hitting those apexes like he was the lap before. So that just shows what that turbulent air behind a car in front can do for your cornering.
Definitely. Out as Scope and Scott have both come into the pits. Wow, now this should be interesting.
Yeah, so all the top 3, so Scope, Scott and Archie all into the pit stop. And I think this time it was a case of Scott deciding, you know what, I don't want you to get that undercut on me. And he had the opportunity to follow him in, and he's decided to do so. So that's put White Fountain out into the lead of the race. Speed Queen, she's managed to head up into second. Scopefielder's out into 4th, 5th, and Archie's coming in now. Is he going to get ahead of Joel? Joel's coming down the main straight now at full pace, and Archie's just heading out of the pit lane. Archie looks like he's going to get it by about 20 metres or so, and yeah, about 6 or 7 car lengths for Archie. So unfortunately Joel, who is on the super soft tyres running to the end of the race, couldn't quite jump ahead of the Force India, but a great strategy call there from Scott and Archie, both deciding to to mirror whatever Scopefielder did.
Yeah, you definitely think that was the pit wall telling the guys, copy whatever Scope does. If he stays out, follow him. If he comes in, follow him. They didn't want that undercut working as effective as what it did in the first pit stop. So great strategy call from those guys there. White Fountain is definitely going to have to pit now, and he does pit now. So Speed Queen will effectively be taking the lead of the race.
Yeah, and she does. She's going to come round the final corner now on the super soft tyres, and M. Doran's going to come round. He's going to be the second one on the ultra soft tyres at the moment is White Fountain. We can see he's coming out of the pits now. Where does he come? Scopefielder goes ahead. Scott is going to go ahead, and I believe Archie's going to get him as well. So it's going to be close here between the Force Indias, or is there two a split? But it's much closer. But equally, Joel, he's going to be deja vu for him as he sees a second pink car appear out of a pit lane in successive laps, and realising that he just wasn't quite close enough to get the jump on either of them. But yeah, that's put Archie and White Fountain into 5th and 6th position, and now essentially for Scope, Scott, Archie and White Fountain, the hunt is on, and Speed Queen is the target.
It's around 8 seconds between Scope and Speed Queen. She's going to have to, if she's not already, get the hammer down and just try and keep that gap for as long as possible. But it's going to be difficult. These guys on the faster tyre now, they're like you say, on the hunt for Speed Queen. Can she hold out this? She's got 13 laps. It's going to be a tough ask. You asked me earlier about one stop or two stop. I'm suddenly starting to favour the two stop, because now these guys have looked super racy so far, and if they can keep us racy on fresh ultra soft tyres, I can't see how Speed Queen eventually will be able to keep them behind her. But we shall see, as Scopefielder sets a new fastest lap of the race, a 1:16.7, as he's powering on to chase down firstly M. Doran.
Yeah, White Fountain here, he's going to get a great run on his teammate heading down the main straight, and he's going to get alongside, and he soars past DRS wide open, assisted down into turn 1, and Archie has to relinquish the position. And I believe that's the first time in a while that White Fountain has managed to get past his teammate and assist to Force India, and to rub salt into the wounds, of course, you get the driver that got DRS down the main straight, then gets it again, once again, from turn 3 down to turn 4, so he's able to stretch that advantage out. So now it's all on Archie. Can Archie come back at his teammate, or, like we've been saying before, do these two work together and try and close up Scott? He's only 1.7 seconds up the road.
You would like to hope Force India are telling the guys to focus on that Mercedes there. Don't fight with each other. You're just going to take yourself out of contention of fighting with Scott and potentially Scope ahead. They've got to look at Scott and try and put him under pressure and potentially take that position away from us. And we noticed White Fountain during that middle sector picked up a 3-second time penalty, as well as Sam, who's down in 8th place. East also picked up a 3-second time penalty. M. Doran is now just coming to the pits after 15 laps on his ultra soft tyres.
Yeah, I think Scopefielder would have had his heart in his mouth there for a second as they rounded the final corner at turn 17. M. Doran, of course, put the brakes on because he was going to come into the pit lane, and Scopefielder closed right up to him and missed his front wing on the rear tyre of M. Doran by a fraction of distance. So it was really marginal. So Scopefielder, I'm sure, will be just a little bit shaken up from that one. He obviously wouldn't have wanted to pick up any silly wing damage, and unfortunately Scott, equally like he was doing in that last, or towards the end of that last stint, he's starting to break that lead down. So Scopefielder, although he's got the jump on him, that lead is slowly starting to come down around about 1/10 of a second every sector or so.
I think it's a case of when, not if, Scopefielder catches Speed Queen. It was at the beginning of this lap just over 5 seconds. It's coming down to 4 seconds now, so he's averaging around a second a lap over Speed Queen at the minute. So within the next few laps or so, he's going to see a bright red Ferrari ahead of him as he sets yet another fastest lap of 1:16.5. Scopefielder is on the charge.
Yeah, after saying that the time was coming down, it's managing to keep it on the bubble around 2 seconds at the moment. It's dropped down to 1.9 as I say that. But yeah, Scopefielder realising that the threat is coming from behind, and he needs to get a shift on if he's going to get past Speed Queen, which, like you say, looks like it's a bit of a foregone conclusion. M. Doran, he's dropped down to 8th position after that stop. He's going to try and run a set of Hypersofts to the end. He's in the tow behind the Williams of Sammy DePito, but he's not quite close enough. And even though on the fresh Ultras compared to Sam's 5-lap-old Supers, he just couldn't quite get the grip on the exit, the final corner. But he's got a much better run here from the exit of turn 3 down to turn 4. Does he look to send it down the inside? No, he's still not close enough. In fact, Sam locks up the front tyres going into turn 4 there. So it's a frustrating bit of the lap here for M. Doran, who's going to have to sit behind the Sam. As I say that, he tried to look it around the outside of turn 6, but yeah, from the exit of turn 6 all the way really until turn 12 and the entry to the stadium section, there's no overtaking positions unless the other driver goes wide. So it's a really a frustrating part of the lap for a following driver.
Back to the focus of the front, Scott. He's not really making much ground at me on Schofield, but he's going to be having bright pink in his mirrors yet again. White Fountain was 1.8, it's just dropped a little bit. It was 1.1. He's just like a little bit of tight White Fountain, but he's trying to reel in Scott here. Scott, who's stuck at around the 2-second mark behind Scope for the minute. Scope is clearly can see now the red Ferrari ahead of him. Just 2.1 seconds now between Speed Queen and Scope.
As M. Doran gets the move done down into turn 1, Sam was trying to break the tone, was moving side to side, and unfortunately couldn't quite get it done. The Hypersoft tyres do their job, but Sam is going to try and come back at M. Doran going down into turn 4. Not quite. He can't quite get it done there. So it looks like M. Doran up into 7th position, and now he's got to try and make up a whole heap of time if he's going to catch up to Joel, who seems to have fallen off at the end. After the first third of the race, Joel was doing very well at the start, and now down in 6th position by quite a distance to the top 5. So yeah, bit of a strange one there for Joel V520.
Yeah, it is a little, isn't it? He's just, like you say, struggled a bit, hasn't he? He's not made any ground. Yeah, he's on the slower, super soft tyre, but it's like racing on his own at the minute. He's 9 seconds behind Archie, and M. Doran's 8 seconds behind him. He's having quite a lonely race, Joel, but 6th place is not too bad, really. He'll pick up some good points there again. But as we look ahead, Schofield is now under 1 second behind Speed Queen, and like I say, it's going to be a matter of when, not if. Speed Queen, unfortunately, she's not going to have much in terms of answers to stop Schofield here. She'll be able to keep him behind through this section and the stadium section, but I think once DRS is activated, I think she'll be seeing how much that Red Bull can fly.
Yeah, absolutely. And with 7 laps left to go in the race, Speed Queen's under threat from a number of drivers, and with the Force Indias struggling with penalties, of course, she may just about stay ahead of them. Of course, she's very consistent with not picking up time penalties, but at the moment it's probably a battle for her to be on the podium between her and the Force Indias. The Force Indias, of course, need to clear her and scamper up the road. So yeah, it's gonna have to be a close fight between them, but it looks like Scope's gonna have the run on Speed Queen going down into turn 1. Can she do anything about it, or will the Swedish driver look? He's gonna go around the outside into turn 1. Can Speed Queen hold him up? No, she can't. She's decided she broke a little bit over earlier. Scope decided to take the racing line into turn 2, and that's moved on, and the lead of the race for Scopefielder in his return to the No Assist Championship after a few races out. He's currently in the lead, but Scott, he's only 1.3 seconds behind at the moment, so the race is still on for the victory. And equally, those 2 Force Indias, Archie's dropped back a little bit after a mistake earlier in the lap, but White Fountain equally, he's well within a shot of a podium at the moment.
Definitely, and unfortunately for Speed Queen, I think tyre life is starting to be a factor for her now. She's got, 6-7 laps left to try and hang on, so to speak, from the guys behind her who are on much younger, faster tyres. So it's going to be a big ask if she's going to hang on to a podium place here, as the Mercedes and Force India are slowly starting to reel her in.
White Fountain now almost getting himself within DRS detection of the Mercedes ahead, so he's doing very nicely for himself. He's brought that lead down, of course, after getting past Archie a few laps ago. Archie slowly dropping off and possibly having taken a little bit of life out of these ultra soft tyres as they get towards the midpoint of their life. And in fact, Scott now right up behind Speed Queen. He had a much better run. DRS aided down that main straight, and he's going to have DRS down in towards turn 4. Can he get past Speed Queen? We've seen these two have some absolutely titanic battles in the past, but today it feels like a little bit of a gimme because Speed Queen on those old super soft tyres, she just doesn't have the grip up against Scott on those much fresher ultra soft tyres. So yeah, it's a shame there because those two have had, so like I said, some really fun battles in the past, but it looks like she's slowly going to fall back, and she's already fallen into the clutches of White Fountain.
Yeah, that is a shame. These two both fighting for Tier 1 Championship and overall Championship. It'd have been nice if they'd have seen them both on good fresh tyres, on the same tyres. We'd have seen an epic battle like you've mentioned we've had many times with these guys, but unfortunately for Speed Queen, it's just the tyres have gone on that Ferrari now, as the Force India will be reeling her in, and DRS will be opening a second for White Fountain, and you think it's going to be easy pickings for White Fountain down this straight.
Yeah, there he goes, the Force India absolutely breezing past the Scarlet Ferrari, and the 58 Ferrari cannot do an absolute nickel dime nothing about it, and absolutely flies past her down into turn 1. And yeah, through he goes up into 3rd position. In fact, now only 0.3 of a second behind Scott. So Scott having a poor run through that last few complex of corners, and White Fountain already all over the gearbox of him.
White Fountain, I think, will need to try and get the overtake done if he's going to try and claim and keep 2nd place. I'm sure White Fountain has more penalties than Scott, so this will be crucial. And for Schofield in general, he'll want to see these two squabbling. He's got 2.1 seconds ahead of Scott at the minute. He'll be looking in his mirrors and seeing a pink Force India getting on the nerves, so to speak, of the Mercedes behind, and this will do him the world of good seeing them two squabble. He could just drive off into the distance and look to focus on that race victory.
Yeah, as White Fountain now shapes up the Mercedes ahead, and can he get a good launch? The Belgian driver is in the toe of that Merc ahead, and Scott, he's going to have to really push that thing to hold on to the position, but it looks like it's already going to be gone by the time he gets down to turn 1, and there you go, White Fountain up into 2nd position on track and looking really pacey in this last quarter of the race. And White Fountain, they've dipped under 2 seconds ahead of Schofield, so now he's cleared Speed Queen and Scott. Is White Fountain going to try and challenge Schofielder for the lead?
Well, as we know, he not much, but he's on 1 lap younger tyres than the guys around him, and if he looked after those tyres when he come out, he could have a bit more tyre life left than the guys around him, and for White Fountain, he could theoretically now charge for Scott picks up another 3-second time penalty. That is crucial, I think, for 2nd place between White Fountain and himself, so that is going to be interesting. It's good move from White Fountain to get the move done when he did. Can he now go and try and chase after Schofield for 1st place for his last 4 laps?
Yeah, Scott having a huge snap of oversteer on the exit to the stadium section in turn 12 there, and just about held on to it, and possibly putting a little bit too much load into those tyres. And with 4 laps left to go, we've got plenty of running and plenty of time to overheat these tyres, which will be coming towards the end of their lifespan. And it's Speed Queen, I believe she's down in 4th position, so with Archie with a lot of penalties sitting underneath him at the moment, it looks like she's going to maintain her run of top 4 finishes in the entire season so far, but as I'm sure she'll wish that she'd managed to stay on the podium. But yeah, White Fountain now 1.5 seconds behind Schofielder, and I believe with White Fountain and Scott equal on penalties now, it is the battle essentially is on between those two. If Scott can try and claw back any time and challenge the 2nd place man.
Definitely, I think, I don't want to put the curse on him, but Schofield at the minute, if he keeps it on the track, he'll have the race victory in his pocket at the minute, because I just don't think he's got as many penalties, if any penalties. I'm not sure if he's got any, so the guys behind will obviously finish behind him, but at the minute, Scott, boy better know, is just falling away really from White Fountain. He's down to 2 seconds now behind White Fountain. At the minute, White Fountain is just building the lead over him, and looks like he's going to be keeping hold of second place on his debut, which would be absolutely incredible.
XD Archie now 7/10 of a second behind Speed Queen, heading down the main straight. He's got DRS, but it doesn't look like he's going to be close enough to get a move done into turn 1. Equally, M. Doran, he's caught up to the rear end of Joel. That's a big bundle of time, but he's managed to catch up to the rear end of that Mercedes, and he's going to be challenging down towards turn 1. But Archie now tucked right into the gearbox of the Ferrari ahead, but once again not quite close enough to get the move done. But I'm sure he'll be aware that he's got a load of penalties coming his way at the end of the race, and that he needs to get past if he's going to try and make any positions up. Oh, he runs wide there on the exit of turn 6 onto the grass, kicks up the dirt, but that's going to slightly hinder his tyres with, of course, getting any sort of dirt or marble on them at this stage of the race when they're slightly worn is not what you want at all. But White Fountain still 1.6 seconds behind Scopefielder, so Scope just about managed to keep him at arm's length at the moment. So looks like Scopefielder may hang on to this one.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to put the curse on him, but you are probably right there. White Fountain has now a pretty comfortable gap to Scott in third place. Scott, he'll be slightly annoyed he's lost second place, I reckon, but crucially for him in the championship, he's going to be finishing ahead of Speed Queen, as Archie's putting the pressure on Speed Queen. He's still not managed to get ahead, but it's a bit of a rough second run, Archie, this on these tyres, but he's going for the overtake now on Speed Queen, and he gets the move just about done. Speed Queen's not giving up. A racecraft and experience there, just making sure their elbows are firmly out, and Archie has the door slammed shut in his face. He's going to have to try again, but as I was saying, Archie, bit of a rough second half of the race, but overall I think he should be proud of what he's done today. He's had a fine race against very experienced no assist drivers here. Yeah,
absolutely. Both Force Indias should be absolutely delighted with their performance tonight. Really, really impressive from both of them, and yeah, he's just staying on the gearbox of a 3-time no assist champion in Invictus Racing League. So yeah, he's definitely doing himself pretty nicely at the moment, and in fact he's going to be right in the toe on the in fact he kicks the rear end out, almost goes into the pit lane, drifting around that final corner, manages to keep it on the throttle, and he's still got the toe going down towards turn 1. So is it going to be a late last lap move for Archie on head of Speed when he gets the move done, snaps back across her, and he's going to try and hold her behind and take the apex on the next 2 corners, and she won't be able to come back. He's going to have DRS, but we're on the final lap of the race, and Scopefield, he's got 1.1 second lead over White Fountain. It looks like the Red Bull driver's done enough to take the race victory, but it's been a pretty epic race to come back after a disappointing one last week out.
Definitely. And further down in 8th, 6th, 7th, 8th, we've got a 3-way battle. Joel, M. Doran and Sam the Pitter, they're all fighting for 6th place at the minute. Joel is hanging on into 6th place, and they've crashed. They've hit each other. M. Doran and Joel have hit each other. Sam couldn't take advantage because they just blocked the track up, and now they're just going to follow each other into the stadium section. That was a bit of a mess there for them 3.
Green, white and red meets Scopefielder as he comes through the stadium section. He comes through and takes the race victory. White Fountain on debut takes 2nd position. Fantastic result there for him. Speed Queen jumps up ahead of Scott, so Scott's penalties relegate him off of the podium by 1/10 of a second. That was all it was in. 1/10 knocks Scott off the podium. XD Archie comes in 5th. Sammy the Pitto is going to come home in 6th position. We'll see if penalties drop him down any further after a messy lap between Sam, M. Doran and Joel. They all coast across the final line. There's Sam coming home in 6th. That's actually decent for him, with Scott only finishing in 4th position. He takes home 5 championship points. M. Doran comes home 8/10 of a second behind in 7th. Joel is in 8th. Lamaro is going to be the final one to cross the line after Phil retired from the race earlier on after caught him on on screen, he lost control at turn 1 as Lamaro comes across, and he is your final runner here in the Mexican Grand Prix. And what an end to a race there.
That was crazy. I did not expect to see Speakwin jump up to the third place. Scott will be reeling for that. He will not have wanted that at all. I just wanted to point out Sam, Doran and Joel at the end, they were 3 wide going into the stadium section. It was chaos, and somehow Sam got his nose ahead of both of them and nicked 6th place. So a big boost for him at the end of the race there.
Yeah, of course, unfortunately we didn't catch that on stream, but of course, guys, if you are watching it back, feel free to clip it and send us. We'd be more than happy to post it on our socials and find out what your point of view was for that final lap, and it looked pretty epic. And I'm sure Speakwin, she'll be the one that's delighted. She wasn't expecting that after finishing 5th on track. She comes home in 3rd position, but there you go, Scopefielder without a penalty, 47 minutes, 35 seconds. He gets the job done, picks up the race victory. White Fountain, absolutely fantastic debut for him in the Gnosis Championship in 2nd position. Speakwin 7th up to 3rd, fantastic result. Scott will be disappointed, he drops into 4th position. XD Archie, he'll also have a big smile on his face after that. He's in 5th position, even though he started 3rd. It's a great result for him. Sammy the Pito will be glad to come up to 6th position. M. Doran and Joel P520 in 7th and 8th. Lamaro is your final points taker in 9th. He takes home 2 points, whilst Phil, Nevermiss and Jos retired early in the session. And is it time to take a breath now, Sab?
Definitely. That was exactly what I expected. 2 rookies wanting to fight up against the more experienced guys, and they bloody well gave it a good go. White Fountain was absolutely exceptional today. I probably would give him the driver of the day today, despite Scopefielder doing what he's done many times. White Fountain has come in and shown that he does have real pace and can challenge with the front runners here. So absolutely fantastic from him and Archie to from qualifying to race. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. Congratulations to Scopefielder, and once again we see Speakwin on the podium.
Yeah, Scopefielder. He, after missing the race in Australia and the race in China, he's back with a decent result. He's picked up his first victory of the season. Of course, picked up 3 second places in earlier in the season in Austria, Japan, and Spain. A 3rd place finish in Bahrain in the opening race of the season. But it's his first race win of the season, so Scopefielder will be pretty happy with that one indeed. And of course, this not like I said earlier, it's not the only race this season. We've got this week here in Invictus. Tomorrow night it's Realistic Performance night, Realistic Performance 1 and 2. Wednesday night is F1, F2 and F3, so make sure you join us on twitch.tv live for them. But yeah, congratulations to the podium position start, to Scope, to White Fountain and to Speakwin. And Sab, is there anything? It's really after that race. It's as we look towards the next race in Spa. It's quite slightly mouthwatering now that we've seen that, isn't it?
Definitely, it's still all to play for. Speakwin just getting ahead. That will irk Scott. He will have been ahead of Speakwin and thinking he's got the points over Speakwin, and it's across the finish line, and the penalties have cost him, which would be very frustrating for him. But it's good to see that we've still got a good 3-way battle. Sam, who's still up there, will he be going back to the controller and going back to what he knows best, or will he still take the gamble of the steering wheel? Who remains to be seen. But yeah, Spa, absolutely fantastic race, as it always seems to be. You never know what weather we're going to get, and hopefully we get even more great battles like we have done throughout this season so far.
Yeah, so as you're saying, you never know what weather will happen in Spa. It seems to have its own mini climate there as we go for a blast through the Ardennes forest, and one of the most iconic circuits on the F1 calendar, full of really tricky corners, and equally with cars going up Eau Rouge into Rajon. It's always a sight to see. Sparks will be flying, and I'm sure elbows will be out, trying to make sure that the points are going towards the championship for a lot of the protagonists of Scott, Speakwin and Sammy the Pito, and equally now Scopefielder. You can't rule him out after that race victory. If he can go on a run and pick up some decent results, he can get himself into a late championship challenge. And equally, I believe with that result, it means that Mercedes take the lead in the constructors' championships ever so slightly ahead of Ferrari, of course, with Nikki 9095 missing out tonight. So Mercedes, I believe they take the lead. If not, it will be very, very close between the two of them. But yes, like I said, join us next week in Spa-Francorchamps for the 10th round of the No Assist Championship. Follow us on all of our socials, Invictus RL on Twitter and Instagram, Invictus Racing League on Facebook, and InvictusRacingLeague.com. Sign up, get yourself on the grid for F1 2019 with Invictus, and make sure you send a message to any of the admins and site directors if you want to find out anything about the league and how you can get yourself involved in the community. But I'd like to say thank you very much to my co-commentator Sab for another fantastic night's commentary, and I'm sure he's looking forward to next week as much as I am.
Thank you very much. It's been a blast as always. A pleasure to commentate alongside you, and it helps so much when we have great racing from all these guys.
Absolutely, and once again, follow us on Twitter if you want, guys, at GT2_driving for me, and at Alan Sabatino for Sab. And for tonight, thank you very much for joining me. Congratulations to the top three for everyone else for providing a fantastic race back here with the No Assist Championship. We'll see you tomorrow night for realistic performance here at Invictus Racing Leagues. But for tonight, from me and from Sab, it's a very good night.
Good night.